All right, we're back in Attorney General Doug Gansler from Maryland. I want to bring you back into this. This may not apply in your state as much because I've seen the polling on support for gay marriage in your states is very strong. But it's a different story in a lot of other states. And we just mentioned what's happening in Kentucky right now, where there's a Democratic Attorney General who has to decide, I guess by March 20th, if he's going to defend his state and appeal this when the Kentucky needs to recognize same-sex marriages from out of the state. There was also a poll that came out just this week in Kentucky that asked about support of gay marriage. It was 35 support, 55 opposed. So you're looking at a very different sort of political culture there. I would just wonder if you could speak to how an attorney general who has to deal with the law but also has to deal with politics, because this Attorney General in Kentucky, Jack Conway, clearly has some ambitions for higher office in the future. How do you balance those two things?
Well, this case is actually easier for Attorney General Conway, who's extremely bright and extremely fair, because the recognition of out-of-state same-sex marriages in his state doesn't come under the Equal Protection Clause. It comes under the Full Faith and Credit Clause. So he's able to reconcile that. But I do think there are political considerations for attorneys general. They should follow the law. They have to follow the law, but it's about priorities. I mean, that's why the Attorney General is an elected position in almost every state, except for a handful, and they have to be cognizant of the politics of it, but you also have to do the right thing, and people will respect that. I mean, we started talking about Attorney General Holder. You can harken back to Robert F. Kennedy when he was going down into southern states to talk about the Civil Rights Act, which may not have been popular politically there, but he was going down to do it. I think you have to uphold the law, and in these cases, what we're talking about in terms of marriage equality and same-sex marriage is it's hard to take the other side of it. It's hard to see how it's possibly constitutional. It may not be, you may not like it, or you may love it, but it's certainly unconstitutional to deny people their very basic human dignity and human rights.
Chris, very quickly here, but I'm curious, you're following the Kentucky story pretty closely, obviously. That dilemma that Jack Conway, the Democratic Attorney General, faces, how do you expect he's gonna play this one?
Well, he's got a second problem, because the couples who were already in the case were they had been married elsewhere, but after the judge's ruling, another set of couples who aren't yet married asked to intervene in the case, and they've now turned this from just a marriage recognition lawsuit into a full marriage lawsuit. And there's a second case that the judge has set a timeline for on actual marriage in the state of Kentucky. So this is just starting in Kentucky, and Attorney General Conway is going to have to decide whether or not, as a Democrat, and there are other Democrats, Roy Cooper, the Attorney General in North Carolina, is dealing with this. There are AGs who are Democrats but are in states where making that decision is still politically courageous, as opposed to something that we can sit here and say is the obvious thing to do.
No, it's really fascinating, because we talk about how the gay marriage divide sort of tracks with the red state, blue state divide, but there are these crossover cases. It's going to be really interesting to see what plays out in Kentucky and as you say, North Carolina. I want to thank Maryland Attorney General Doug Gansler for joining us this morning. And from BuzzFeed, Chris Geidner, thank you. In the next hour, is Joe Biden the Rodney Dangerfield of the 2016 race? We'll look at whether he's getting the respect he deserves, and later.